Welcome back to the tube barn. We got another video. It's cold again. Weather can't seem to figure out what season it is, so here we go. Last we left off, we were trying to figure out where we were putting certain holes in this thing. We're still doing that. I've been playing around with my transformer. I talked about grommets. These are grommets. Little rubber donuts that go in the holes where you're going to put your wires in. And I'm trying to figure out where I want it. I did move this hole. It was too close to here. It was not going to work, so I did move this to here. Trying to avoid getting in the middle of my mounting holes for my board. So I'm thinking here and here might work, because when you're looking at this, over here, trying to avoid this. So I'm thinking somewhere's about here, put the grommets in, drop the cables down there, drop these ones here, drop these ones down here. We're figuring that out. Yeah. As you can see, it's kind of a pain. A lot of times in the older style, the square ones, they'll just have a big square hole in the center because they're all coming down all the sides. It works easier. These are a little bit harder to work with in this situation. So you could do this. I could possibly turn them here, but I'm going to have, if you're, I don't know what I did with my faceplate. You have your power and your standby here. And of course, these are your power in. These are coming from your main power. These are your high voltage secondaries. And your bias, this is centered up. And then these ones are your heaters. Like I said, I have two sets. I have two different voltages. These ones, I don't know where I want them. So sometimes you just drill some holes, shove your wires in there, and see if it works out. So that is what I'm going to do. Let's see what happens. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, the holes are drilled. The transformer's mounted to the chassis, but the holes, they're too small. You're going to need bigger grommets. As you said, these holes are a little small. I think I'm going to need some bigger holes and some bigger grommets. They're just not fitting in there nicely enough. This one I put a little too far this way, but I think if I either one, drill these out a little bit bigger to give them a little bit more room, and or I can cut this out. I think just bigger grommets would probably work. But since they're in there, we'll do that a little later because I need to go buy bigger grommets. I managed to mount this because, as you heard on the last video, I was worried about the bolt. This bolt. The head of the bolt being underneath the board, and it's right here. Luckily, there's definitely enough room, and it's sitting right about here. So as long as I'm not real sloppy with these connections, I should be fine. Now, this is why I have the big wood thing, because once I get working, you want it like this because these transformers are going to rock. It's going to get crazy. But I think that works. Now, let's play with the faceplate. I'm going to remove this and be right back. Okay, that's torn apart, and I have some of the components down here that we're going to be drilling out for the faceplate. Also, we'll be doing some for the back as well. I don't have any plates for that. I didn't want to spend any money on it, so I don't have any. But I recommend you do. It'll look really cool. So anyways, I only have a couple, or one of each, I should say, because I know this is going to be a 1 million. That is going to be a 1 million. This is the same as that. You got your jacks, and you can see they're not all the same size, and even these will be different. They might be the same, but sometimes they are not. 1 million ohms, 1 million ohms, 250k ohms, 25k ohms, 1 million ohms. This is 1 million, but there are these stereo ones. Remember I talked about the stereo ones. These are the way that I'm controlling the post-phase inverter masters, because the post-phase inverter, it splits the signal, goes into one tube, goes into the other tube. These are the power tubes, the push and pull system. So this has to run both sides. So one side here, one side here. And because it switches to the other one, it's got to have that pair as well. So you're dealing with stereos. Well, it's not stereo, but you get my meaning. And that's why this has become more of a pain in the ass, because I'm doing it this way. You have your power and standby switches. Now, I was looking into it. Standby switches technically are not even needed and can be bad. Now, if you're in an area where it's cold, it's very cold, and you're going to turn on, yes, I would recommend flipping it on, keeping your standby off or on, depending how you want to do it, but have it on standby, and just give it 20 or 30 seconds, and then pop it on. It's been said that if you leave your amp on standby, it can actually mess up your tubes. They don't like it. So you technically don't even need a standby unless you're going to be dealing with extreme temperatures. So if you don't want to put a standby, don't put one in. That's up to you. Just remember, look into it a lot. There's a lot of people say different things. But if you do have a standby, don't leave your amp on standby. It is a warm-up tool. Hit the power, and as soon as it's warmed up, it only takes about 30 seconds. You talk about the heaters. These things get really hot really quick. Pop it on. But if it's not going to be used, kill that thing. Shut it off. That is standbys. Argue with me, whatever, don't care. So I'm going to go and start marking this. Let me take these items and put them over here. Now, what you want to do, because you heard me talking about these things, dance around. Wow, that camera is super close. So, yeah, there you go. That's dirty. Okay, good. That comes off. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill one. I'm probably going to drill this one here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill it. That will be the input jack. Remember I talked about shunting jacks. They have shunts, I believe. No, that's not it. That's a stereo. This is the jack that I'll be using for my foot switch. They have the same threads, so I'll be doing it. But shunted, that's not a shunted one. I don't have it. Never mind. I'll stop talking now. But what I was saying is I'm going to drill it, and then I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to connect it. Because what happens is if you just try to drill them all, it could be a little bit off. But with that said, you mark this. Do not drill your faceplate until you are all good, and you check it. But the good thing is if your hole's a tiny bit off, that's when you drill your faceplate. Because what happens is you're going to align your hole in your faceplate with the hole in your chassis. If it's slightly off, that's fine. If you're going to have a major off, well, then you may want to think about maybe getting a new chassis because you screwed up. But if it's slightly off, just a hair, and it doesn't match, you drill. You can kind of overbore your faceplate a little bit because your knob's going to cover it, and it'll be fine as long as it's not a major issue. Like I said, if it's way off, you probably want to think, can you fix it or not? But drill your faceplate second. You use these to mark your holes. Try to find it perfect. It's kind of hard. Then you go mark your first hole. Taking a little time. It's not a bad thing. I think I'm going to put it down. Just because I want it flush with the ground or the table. But this table is super not straight. Yeah, this table sucks, so that's not a good idea either. That's not a good idea either. So get something flat when you do it. Super, super flat. I'm gonna put it on here. If it's a little off, so be it. Like I said, I'm just building them. I'm not gonna go show them off. It's up here, and you don't want your faceplate. It'd be better if it's a little short here than long, because you don't want it to be hitting the bottom of your box. So I'm going to put this one on here. Damn it, I moved it. Maybe get some tape. But we're fine. If I could stop hitting this, that would be great. And I'm going to mark that one. Yeah, actually, the faceplate seems to be a little short. Let's talk about faceplates a minute. I got these ones. I like them. They're plastic. They're affordable for what I'm doing. They're usable. I can give you a link if you want, the guy that makes them. One issue though, if you're gonna spend the money and you wanna spend the money, see if you can get the metal ones. And the reason why, one, they're probably a little bit more durable. And two, they're gonna be thinner. And the reason why that might be an issue, because sometimes these threads aren't very long. And you get into the jacks are fine. Sometimes your knobs, they're not very long. I should say your pots. And so when you go to thread them on there, there's barely a couple turns that are sticking out. And so you're kind of having a problem, unless you can find the ones with the long shanks. But if you can't find the long shanks, maybe look into getting the metal ones. It's definitely going to be a bit more. This is, I don't remember what it's cost me, probably 25 bucks, 30 bucks at the most. And those metal ones are going to cost a bit more. I think the guy that does this does metal, but it's definitely more expensive. So I'm going to start drilling this out. Okay, I got done drilling. Fuzz everywhere. As you can see, I got these in here. The middle one, and this one got away from me a little bit, but you can see it's a little off. But that's okay. Yeah, we'll move it over. It's not going to be too bad once you got the knob in there. Like I said, make sure you get a good center punch. Get that hole ready, because it'll dance on you. And those little starter bits, not this one, the little ones, little tiny one, that's not even it, but there's a little one. It'll start curving on you, dance around and curve on you. So watch out when you're doing that. I'm not concerned about this too much. Like I said, it's just going to sit over there. I'm showing you what to do. It's rustic. That's what it means when you screw up. It's rustic. It's a rustic in. It's on purpose. I meant to do this. So that looks good. Now, I'm not going to put all these things in here, because when I assemble it, it's going to be assembled with the faceplate off, because it's going to get scratched to hell if you do it. So I'm gonna, plus I still got to get the angle grinder in there and get all the burrs off the holes. I'm gonna go do the back right now, and if I could do this over, I would put the foot switch jack in the front. I just think wiring it would be significantly easier. It's not going to be a main issue, but it definitely would be easier to wire this way. This is my pilot light hole. This is the LED. I mentioned these earlier. These are the little LEDs that I use for my relays. You got to remember, now, unfortunately, you do not want to hook this thing up, because it needs to come through there because it's snapping. It has to go and install like that. So you're probably going to have to hook that up last. And you're going to have your faceplate on it as well, because if you do that and you hook it up, you can't get this in here because it's a snap-in. It's got this little head on it, so you can't get it in there. So you have to do this like last. When you're putting in your board, make sure you can take it out enough to solder this in there, or you install it in a way that you could get in there. It's a real mother to solder this onto a little relay board, at least mine. It's just the way it is. So think about that when you're building your amp. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to drill some more in the back, and I'll be back here in a minute. Okay, so I'm back. I did some drilling. I got this one all cleaned up. Now, I fucked up. It's savable, but I fucked up. I was doing my markings. Got my output jack. Got my bias pot and my fuse. I had too many marks going on and I put my fuse too far. The fuse was supposed to be over here, it's here. So, which is one of these, looks like this. It's gonna go in the hole like that, boom. So, I don't have very much room for my jack, my power jack. It'll fit, but not by much. So, pay attention to what you're doing. Sometimes you screw up, but no big deal. Now, I love these, oops, I love these, but they're all pain in the ass because trying to cut a square hole. So I'm gonna get in there with probably like a jigsaw with a metal blade, which is very hard. These take me a long time to do. They're never pretty, but once you get it in there, you don't really notice. They have the type that, where your cord doesn't come out, just a hole, it clamps, and then it's like a pressure clamp, it goes in there. I think I have one on that amp there. I don't like it. They just don't seem incredibly secure, and I like to be able to take the cord out. So especially if there's a problem with your cord, throw the cord out, get another one. They're the same ones that run computers and stuff like that, so they're all good. So that'll be a hell of a lot of work for me to get that in there. As of right now, I need to go in there and deburr everything. And then once I do that, I can start assembling. I don't have the screws I need for the sockets, but there are these little tiny ones here. This is the only ones I have. So I need to go out and buy a bunch of them. I had some screws, I thought they were the right ones, they're not. So I need to buy some more. So this is gonna probably be a shorter video, but next week, we're gonna really start getting into this. Plus I'm freezing my ass off. Seriously, it's cold out here. I got this little space heater, but it's a barn, it's cold. And holding these metal pieces that are freezing cold, beer's staying cold, glass is still cold, you know. When you know all that lemons and lemonade thing, or you know, beerade. So that's good. Next week we're going to really start getting into this. I'm also going to, once I deburr it, I'm going to paint it. I do need to drill 2 holes in here. I'll probably use those grommets that I'm not going to use for these ones because they're small. So next week we're going to start getting into this big time. Until then, there you go.